watching The Big Question. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. US President Donald Trump has launched perhaps what is its toughest crackdown on foreign nationals in the country, targeting both illegal and legal immigrants, including the large number of Indian population in the states. As per the latest diktat, foreign nationals who stay in the US longer than 30 days must register with the government. Non-compliance can lead to fines of up to $5,000 or jail term of up to 30 days, the Department of Homeland Security has said. The recent directive is applicable to all non-citizens residing in the US, irrespective of their legal status, which means even legal visa holders, those on work permits, student visas, etc., are under the scanner. The move is applicable to all those foreign nationals who've entered the country on or after the 11th of April. As per a Homeland Security Department post on X, foreign nationals staying on without the authorities' clearance have been urged to self-deport. As for legal non-residents, they have been asked to register and carry documentation proving their legal status at all times. The move signals stricter enforcement of laws to prevent foreign nationals from staying in the US without proper authorization. What's more is that the controversial policy, which is rooted in a World War II legislation, has also received a green light from a federal judge. This is not all. The Trump administration is also training guns on international students. The administration has proposed a bill that would severely restrict the optional practical training or OPT program, which allows international students to stay in the US for up to 3 years after graduation and find a job. Of the 3.3 lakh Indian students in the US, about nearly 30% were on this program in 2023-24. If the bill goes through, it will leave students with no time to transition to work visas. The initiative has already led to increased anxiety among Indian students and their parents who rely on this program to gain work experience in fields like technology and engineering. In total, nearly 5 million Indian Americans currently reside in the US, making them the second largest immigrant group. As Donald Trump fulfills his America First pledge, for many Indians chasing the American dream, they're now stuck in a legal minefield. So the question we're asking is, has the American dream now become a compliance nightmare, and what should you do? Jayant Krishna is joining us today to speak on this. He's Senior Fellow, CSIS. I'm speaking with Manjeet Singh Puri, former diplomat, Gaurang Parekh, immigration lawyer. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us on the show. Ambassador Puri, let me begin with your take with what's going on. Is it fair to say that this is a crackdown like none ever? The hallmark of the American system has been to attract and welcome talent from all over the world. The distinction now seems to be blurring.
Well, no, thank you. And thank you for having me on your program. Look, if you say that the American dream for a good Indian who was educated was learn computer sciences, get yourself a job, go across, then do whatever you want through H-1B, etc., and become a naturalized American citizen, I think that's a tough call from now onwards. But remember, much of this had started even earlier when the system for H-1B shifted to a lottery rather than those who went through the education system in the US, had graduated with top honors and were available for various kinds of jobs, etc. So you're right, it is becoming very tough. The issues are complex. Whether it's good for the American economy or not, I, for one, believe that America needs talent and it's useful. But remember, some of these things also happened after 9/11. And things have settled down. At the end of the day, in my understanding, the United States is a country where business, money, these things matter, and that will be the final determinant. If Indians are people who have capacities and capability, then they will certainly be welcome. There's also the simple need of people at lower-end jobs, which is something that we must also understand. But let's leave that out. In terms of the dream and the dreamers, the United States being a great place, of course, it's going to become more competitive, but certainly not shut out at all. If they move to a points-based system, there'll be other opportunities. But then aren't we seeing global opportunities coming up in India too? And therefore, there would be other avenues for those.
Ambassador Puri, can I tell you what's not sitting well? You're right. Some of these things happened after 9/11. The fight on H-1B visas is fine. This time around, they're talking about green card holders. And what's not sitting well is that you have to carry your documentation with you everywhere to be available at any given time. Tell me, if there is a crackdown on figuring out who is a foreign national or not, how is that distinction going to be made in a crowd, practically?
So, Tamanna, look, in many countries in the world, carrying a national identity card or documents is a rule. It's very normal. Even in India, you go anywhere, don't they ask you either for an Aadhaar card or something like that? Look, these countries, especially the UK and the US, which had for long not had national identity cards, they looked at, simply on the basis of trust. This thing is changing. It is a matter which will cause a certain degree of inconvenience, but I'm sure for Indians in particular, those who've gone there and are legally there, it's only a slight amount of inconvenience. You need to be aware of the law and you've got to do it. Yes, high-handedness on the part of government officials, law enforcement. Come on, we are all aware of this sort of stuff everywhere in the world. But I believe that our people are good, legally there, and therefore should be able to weather the storm.
Correct, agreed. But let me just repose that question, Gaurang Parekh. And let me very clearly say what I'm trying to say. If the hunt is on to figure that are the foreign nationals there legal or not, how is any officer going to pick who is possibly a foreign national? Won't it be on the basis of how they look? Won't it be on the color of their skin? And then at some point, if you're also going to see what they've posted on social media or what their family members have posted, this is turning into more than show me your Aadhaar card if you want entry. That's what's not sitting well. Yes, Gaurang Parekh.
Yeah, so they have given ICE free hand to catch and hold anyone, whether it's of Asian race or whether he's from European. They can hold anyone and ask them for the documents. ICE have already started asking for the documents for anyone. Many Indians have faced, many citizens who previously were Indian and now they have become US citizens are facing such situation in USA. They have been asked for passport, citizenship certificate or green card, alien permanent registration card. So anyone can be asked. It is a law and they are now implementing that law very strictly. With respect to the students which you spoke, and I totally agree with Ambassador, and American dream is not going to die. After 9/11, also they were talking about that nobody is going to get H-1B visas and anything, but it went on, and everybody are now getting H-1B visas, student visa. But nowadays they have started revoking student visas on petty crimes. That is very much serious, and student visas are getting
examples.
revoked.
Are there any examples you've come across, Gaurang?
Many.
No, so can you name one or two?
I can't name them, but I can give you examples.
Example is? Yeah.
So I had a client who called me from USA. He was a student and he had a spat last year with his roommate. The roommate called 911 and the client was picked up by the police officer. And after 1 year, means last week only, he got an email from the US consulate in Mumbai that his visas were revoked. After 1 year of that spat, his visas were revoked. Now there is another one wherein he
one minute, let me understand this. So he was living with his roommate, they had a fight, roommate called 911 and said please complain against him.
We had a spat.
Was the complaint that he was there illegally?
He was legal and there was a complaint, but then the problem was solved amicably. There was no court case, nothing. Then also this case was registered with police. And last week only, he got an email from US Consulate Mumbai that his visas were revoked.
Okay, so more and more.
So these are very serious situations, but they have all legal recourse. They can go to the immigration court, immigration judge, and they can file an appeal, and they can get a legal recourse on that. But it's a lengthy and expensive process.
Exactly.
But
if
still,
you're a student, you have to have an additional budget for that.
Parents have to fly down there immediately on immediate basis to support their students. Yes.
Yeah.
There is one student whose visas were revoked because he was a pilot and he flaunted one small rule and his visas were revoked immediately next day. So there are so many cases, even with girl student. So there is a lot of problem, but still, American dream is not going to go down.
No, but
It's
how are
going
you
to
saying
stay
that?
here.
No, but how are you saying that? Why? So, no.
You don't flaunt the laws. That's it.
No, but it's not flaunt the laws. So why the dream and what is the American dream? Jayant Krishna, what is the American dream? And is it still relevant today? If the American dream is a better life and being respected for your capabilities, is that not available in any other country of the world?
See, let us understand. U.S. is a country which awards talent and skills very clearly, like very few other nations in the world, right? So, I mean, yes, it's a better lifestyle, quality of life, better compensation. That's all Indians, dream about. And so I think, there's some setback in terms of tightening of H-1B visa regime, the green card regime, and so on and so forth. It seems like, हजार ख्वाहिश है ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले. But the fact is, this is not sustainable. US does not, give so many visas to Indians just because they like us. They do it because we meet very, very effectively their skills deficit. They do it because we meet, we make their businesses globally competitive by addressing the cost arbitrage. So I have a feeling, these temporary setbacks notwithstanding, eventually US industry is going to come, would be up in arms against, because they'll not be able to see. Let's talk about President Trump, what he's doing right now. He's tightened the visa regime. It's leading to some kind of a, trade war and so on and so forth. But the fact is, if US wants to regain the manufacturing capability and become the manufacturing powerhouse of the world again, how can it do? It doesn't have people. It will need people from all over the world. See, Indian Americans.
But I don't think it is in dispute that this is a bad idea. I don't think that is in dispute. The question is, what does this mean for Indians? What does this mean for Indians who are working there, who are not permanent residents, who have green cards, who are right now, for parents right now, who are figuring out that they've saved up some money, should they look at admissions in American universities or not? I mean, right now, you have the United States government at war with Harvard. One of its most prestigious institutes.
So I believe people of Indian origin who are there, who either have H-1B visa or visa of any other category or a green card, they don't have to fear much. But their compliance load would go up. They'll have to be very, very thorough with their documentation, with the paperwork, and so on and so forth. They'll be told to show records, documentary evidences, and so on and so forth. That would. But for law-abiding Indians, who have not broken the rules, I don't think they need to fear much. I mean, it's not a small. We're talking about a diaspora of 5.4 million Indians, comprising almost 1.6% of US population. And not only that,
and
the second highest.
One of the most affluent groups. So now, there are two aspects to this, and I'm going to come to you on this, Ambassador. One is what the laws are and compliance, and of course, if it's a no-brainer, right? You don't flout laws. You carry your iCar. You do a good job. Whatever, you're going to be fine. And then there is signaling and what that does for you. You are, as an immigrant in a nation, living among people who are also always listening to political cues. So the feeling that you do not belong is something that you can face apart from an officer asking for your iCard. It pervades in the atmosphere where you are. You want safety for students in their dorms. You want safety for workers on the streets or in public spaces. How big is that concern, and do you think that this is a concern that we should be now bringing up?
No, absolutely. There's no doubt. But let me go back a little bit. Much of this new American dream that you're talking about got fueled by a thing called Y2K. I don't know whether I should be mentioning this to young people like all of you, but that Y2K brought about this entire business of coders and so on, the jobs in the US being Bangalore, and then our people going there, etc. For me, perhaps the much greater challenge is what artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of this could do to the entire business of what we were doing, which was lower cost but intelligent people. So I don't know about that. Now, coming to the question of how societies react. Look, there's absolutely no doubt that MAGA and such people were roughly about half of the US population, especially outside the big cities. There's no doubt about that at all. Now, certainly there's a feeling of being empowered on that. There's also no doubt about it. So let me say you have to be more careful. It's not just the compliance burden, but you have to try and merge and fit into the scene much more. And these efforts have to be made. You can't so easily go about, or you wouldn't want to so easily go about flaunting your own thing. I know this doesn't show up very well in our understanding of a huge liberal society, the United States. But, that's the kind of convulsions that society is going through. And I think our boys and girls, young people, others who are there, they will adjust to it. They have adjusted in the past too. Many came when things were not so easy, etc. And they'll remember, they'll go back. They know how to deal with societal adversities, not just legal ones.
My question is that should we be re-looking at this obsession? Gaurang, let me come to you on that, of living this American dream. And I'm not saying every opportunity is available in India in the same way. Maybe not.
Exactly.
Maybe if you want to do something in artificial intelligence or Gen AI, then you still need to go to the US. But more and more, there will be more alternatives developing, right? And this is an opportunity for India as well to reverse this brain drain.
Exactly. So now I have come across many individuals who are, instead of going to USA, they are coming back to India. They are giving up their US citizenship and they are regaining their Indian citizenship because they are facing a lot of problem with taxation and maintaining their status in USA. Now, suppose you are on a green card and you can't maintain your status in USA on a green card. If you stay out of USA for 365 days and you can't go to USA, they are now implementing the compliance that if you can't go to USA, you can stay here in USA for 365 days, you have to give up your green card. And they are taking away their green card at the port of entry. So these are many issues wherein Indians or a person who are on green card are giving up their green card and regaining their Indian citizenship. Even they are Indian US citizens, they are giving up their US citizenship because of taxation and the compliance issue. So it is not exactly going to USA, but it is vice versa. People are coming back to India to develop their root in India. They are starting their own business, startups and companies in India instead of starting their new companies in USA. So this is also a new thing which is coming up because of the stricter laws, stricter implementation of the immigration laws. And hence people are now moving towards India instead of going back to USA.
Not to say that it's exactly the same. I'm not making that claim at all. But Ambassador Puri, just from the Indian perspective, and of course, this is a question that maybe diaspora of many nations are asking themselves, but we're looking at it from the Indian perspective. To open a business, to advance in your profession, to live a better quality of life, this is why a nation attracts talent. And there is now a global competition for talent, isn't it?
Yes, Tamanna, you're absolutely right. I mean, I certainly do know people who could have settled in the United States who are doing business in India. But on the other hand, we know so many people who've made their life in the United States and today are important in India because they've succeeded in the United States. I don't want to remind you of Hargobind Khurana, the Nobel laureate, who said, I'm an Indian at heart and in every way, and I learned my art, my science here. But had I not gone to the United States, I wouldn't have won the Nobel Prize. Look at Sundar Pichai, look at Satya Nadella, so on. Look, these are realities of life. It is 25% of the global GDP, the largest economy in the world. We are a far cry from that. Given all that, but on the other hand, as my colleagues have pointed out, they have, I believe, a certain need for skilled people, which we are in a good position to supply, especially English-speaking skilled people. Secondly, there is this particular issue that, compliance burdens are going to go up. These are particular issues that you will have to face with. But, those are the realities of life. It can't be so relatively simple as it became, let me say, a few years back when we were the preferred source of people coming in. But let's also just remember this. Indians have done very well in the United States. I mentioned global CEOs, the wife of the vice president, Mrs. Kamala Harris before that was the vice president herself. Look, we have also proven to the US citizenry that we are good people who are good Americans. Now, I just want to make one more point to you about this, foot on either side. This is something that, we all need to understand. We as India don't allow dual citizenship. Many countries in the world have issues on that. You can't be a resident of the US and take advantage of tax laws, etc. Look, this liberal world order would say, let that happen. But, you will certainly agree that a certain kind of nationalism, etc., says, no, choose which side you want to be. If you want to live in America, be American, do the American thing, pay the American taxes. If you are at the very top of the rich man's ladder, then you can afford to play games. But other people, I'm afraid, you need to make choice. You want to live there, fine. You can support your parents, fine. But you have to pay taxes. You need to follow the law. That's the nature of the game. And that's what is happening.
No, I don't think anyone's advocating that the law is not followed. The question is that is the outlook to the American dream now going to change? And it starts with the student pipeline, isn't it? Yeah.
Tamanna, look, my understanding is that while many will think, but still many will feel that if this comes by their way, it will be a better opportunity, and why not give it a shot? Now, there are European countries which are also options, Australia, etc. But I still believe that given the kind of differential in terms of both opportunities and what it is, many people would say, yes, the risk burden has gone up a little bit, but come on, the opportunities and the possibilities are far greater. We've got to give it a shot.
Jan, Krishna, do you think that this is something they'll have to move back on, or is this now a directional move? Because unlike tariffs you can say one day 25, 145, 10, you can say anything. But this is about real people and the way a whole group of compliance officers or your law enforcement agency looks at real people. These have far-reaching effects. It's not like one statement can reverse this tomorrow.
Yeah, I would think, Tamanna, all this is not sustainable at all from a US point of view. I mean, fundamentally, if you look at, there used to be a very classical theory of economics called David Ricardo's comparative advantage of nations, and he said very clearly that, nations can benefit from international trade by specializing in the production of goods or services where they have a lower opportunity cost, even if, they may not have an absolute advantage in all areas of production, right? Or service delivery. So this means that countries should focus on producing what they are relatively better at and, rather than trying to be self-sufficient in everything. So I think US also will realize this, industry will prevail upon them. See, I'll give you an example on H-1B visa issue. When the presidential election campaign started, President Trump is reported to have said this is no good, it's damaging our people, it's taking away jobs and so on and so forth. But later part of his campaign, he said it's not all that bad a thing, H-1B visas, So as more and more industry will believe in that, and as US will try to regain part of its manufacturing competence, which it lost to China and some other countries, I think they will need skills more. On the contrary, you may be surprised to hear what I'm going to say, but the fact is, if US succeeds in its, dream to become the manufacturing hub of the world once again, I think they will need more talent, they will need more skills, and they'll have to loosen the immigration rules for highly skilled people rather than tighten them. I see it as a temporary phenomenon. Yes, the dreams may get shattered for a year or so or for a few months, but eventually, I think it all will get rolled back because our people make American companies globally competitive. That's very, very clear. It addresses the cost arbitrage.
No, that's true. That's true. But it's a two-way street at the end of the day. And maybe this is something that will have to be walked back. But from Indian talent perspective as well, I think people making a beeline to the United States need to know that they are creme de la creme. That you are going there because you have certain capabilities, and are you getting your due? This may be a question that needs to be asked as well. But thank you so much to all of you. We're completely out of time. Thank you for joining us today on The Big Question, for our viewers as well. Thank you for tuning in.